Happy Thursday, or as we used to say in college, happy second day of the weekend. He's Tyler Foljam. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Bet.
Kind of still say that in my 30s.
Still, nothing wrong with that. You live in Las Vegas now. Every day is the weekend. Thursday night basketball. We've got picks coming up. We've got prop art for the weekend. We've got NFL playoff showdown pick'em between the two of us. Not very great last week. We look to improve upon that, but at least the race is tight. But we begin today with day 2 of the James Harden to the Nets fallout. A reminder, you want more coverage on Harden from a gambling aspect, should you bet the Nets now, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. It's where all of our sports betting content is migrating. James Harden to the Nets. The Rockets set to play tonight. Picks? Possibly. But first, insight. So we go to the magical wonders of the internet and welcome in Om Young-Mi-Suk, who covers the NBA for ESPN. Om, thank you so much for your time. Let's jump right into it. James Harden and Kevin Durant. They were teammates in Oklahoma City for 3 seasons. They also played alongside MVP Russell Westbrook during that time. Unfortunately, it resulted in 0 titles and just 1 trip to the NBA Finals. So why should we believe this situation, this time around with Kyrie Irving, is going to be any different?
Well, look, there's certainly a chance that this could blow up in the Nets' face. I mean, this is not the first time that they have made a monster blockbuster move to assemble a big 3, mortgaging their entire future. But in this case now, if you're the Nets, you have to believe that Kevin Durant, who has championship experience, he's a finals MVP, obviously a former league MVP. James Harden wants to win. He wants to relocate. Usually when a star goes to a new place, you're going to get the best of him. James Harden, another former MVP. Kyrie Irving, of course, is the big wild card in the mix here. He has to kind of sort out a lot of issues before he returns to the Nets, if he does return. And then when you have all 3, it's going to take time for them to mesh, for sure. There are going to be a lot of dips, a lot of valleys, and then there are going to be a lot of peaks, at least the Nets hope. But in this case, with these 3 guys now in their young early 30s, and then, of course, Kyrie in his late 20s, you think that this trio, you're hoping, is going to be a little more mature than that other trio in Oklahoma City. And, of course, Kevin Durant, knowing what it takes to win a championship, he has to be the glue guy.
You covered this Brooklyn Nets team back in 2013 when they tried to make a similar type blockbuster to fortify a championship roster. That deal with the Celtics to bring in Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce late in their careers, team them up with Darren Williams. Do you see any similarities between that trade 8 years ago and the blockbuster we saw just yesterday?
It definitely feels a lot like 2013 again. And remember, at that time, it was an unprecedented move where the Nets gave up 3 unprotected first-round picks, a pick swap, and like 5 players for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. And of course, those 2 guys, while they had championship experience and are all-time greats, they were at the end of their careers, but they were brought in to basically help Darren Williams and Joe Johnson try to take that next step and win a championship. Unfortunately, in that time, Darren Williams, they needed Darren Williams to be the alpha guy, and he really wasn't quite that mode as far as personality. In this case in Brooklyn now, you have 3 alphas, and the one major similarity to that team in 2013 was that they brought in a first-time head coach, an all-time great point guard in Jason Kidd, to become head coach for the very first time. He had no coaching experience before. Steve Nash, another great all-time point guard, this is his first go-around as a head coach. And the similarity between those 2 guys, I mean, they both see the game the same way. They both are beloved by players and respected. In this case, though, I think Nash has a little more support because he has Mike D'Antoni on his staff, who obviously was his mentor. Jason Kidd at that time knew he had to do kind of a similar thing. He brought in Lawrence Frank. Unfortunately, that relationship disintegrated months into that season. In this case now, though, Mike D'Antoni gives him an advantage because Mike D'Antoni was James Harden's coach, so that should help this go a little bit smoother. But as I texted with a couple coaches today, one said Nash has his hands full with Kyrie Irving, and the other one said, get ready, this is going to be crazy.
The Nets are the focal point of the trade because they get James Harden, but the Rockets are getting back a Brinks truck worth of picks. 4 first-round picks, 4 pick swaps. When we jump into the future and then eventually look back on this trade, did Houston get too much or did they not get enough? What will be the narrative?
I actually think at the going rate these days with how first-round picks are traded, that I thought the Rockets could have gotten a little bit more. In the end, they got Oladipo and all these picks. But if you look like the Clippers, they traded for Paul George. They traded 5 first-round picks, a couple pick swaps, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari. The Rockets ended up getting Victor Oladipo back with all these picks. But I think if they had their way, I think they probably would have wanted maybe a couple more younger, talented assets with more potential. Victor Oladipo, great in his own right, but of course he's had injury concerns in the past. But I think under the circumstances of what happened in the last 48 hours, the Rockets did about as good as they can. For Brooklyn now, they don't have control of their pick for like 7 years. And, the last time Brooklyn did this, it ended after 1 year. Ownership decided to blow everything up. Jason Kidd and the general manager, Billy King, didn't see eye to eye. They split ways after just 1 season. I think this is going to last longer than 1 season, of course. But there's certainly the potential that if this blows up after a couple years or 3 years, when their contracts are up and these guys leave, the Nets are going to have to rebuild all over again, and that's going to be difficult.
I think the most intriguing part of this big blockbuster for the Nets is how now these pieces fit together. We've seen James Harden and Kevin Durant as teammates before, but after James Harden left and became the alpha, Durant won an MVP, Harden won an MVP, then you bring Kyrie Irving in the mix if he is back and his alpha status. There is still only one basketball, so how do you think that Steve Nash makes it work with these 3 players, their usage rates, their identities offensively, and just one basketball to go around?
I mean, I think you're going to have to try and get a lot of shots up. I think already the Nets defense is giving up a huge amount of shots to opponents. And look, if you look at these 3 guys, usage rate-wise, James Harden has been #1 in usage rate, I think, in the last 5 years. I think Kyrie Irving's like 13th, and Kevin Durant's like 22nd. As I texted with one coach today, I said, how is this all going to work? He said, well, whoever has the ball in his hands is going to have to break down the defense. The other 2 stand on the perimeter and get ready to shoot. Have that guy create. In my mind, though, Kevin Durant plays great off the ball. In fact, he's the best in the league at catch and shoot percentage-wise, better than even the Currys. And then, of course, James Harden, I think, is the guy that's going to have to facilitate. Kyrie Irving, you would think, can play off the ball. But, of course, he often needs the ball as well. I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch these 3 on the court at the end of games, who gets the ball. Kevin Durant, obviously, is a guy that's hit so many clutch shots. But then you got James Harden, who is an offensive talent himself. And, of course, Kyrie Irving, who's hit a ton of big shots in the NBA Finals. Steve Nash certainly has his hands full. And all eyes will be on Nash, at least in the coaching world. Like, I talked to a couple coaches today, and they all mentioned how Nash has his hands full.
He covers the NBA for ESPN. Youngmi Suk, kind enough to join us here on
Shoe game is tight, by the way. That shoe collection you got behind you, I respect that.
Thanks, Om.
Yeah. You like the 11s. Thanks.
I do. Everyone likes the 11s. That's the classic Jays.
If you were sitting around at a bar, you had a conversation to say, look, form a big 3 with the most ridiculous personalities in the NBA.
Well,
would this be
it? It is now a reality.
LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh, like, they'd all fit together. And this is like, again, I can't see anything going wrong.
Yeah, maybe each of them is allowed 20 field goal attempts per game. Maybe that's possible. I have a hard time. And then if adversity hits this team, which it already has, and we've seen how Kyrie has reacted to that, if it hits this team in another fashion with Harden aboard, what happens? I don't know.
Thursday NBA card. Let's pick some games. It's always nice to have a conversation, but it's even nicer to bet. I'm going to get us started. The game that got pulled out of the hat for me is the one everyone wants to see tonight. It's the Toronto Raptors laying 8.5 against the Hornets. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is Toronto laying so many points when they stink this season? Why is Charlotte catching so many? They've been okay as of late. Well, it's the second half of a back-to-back for Charlotte. They just played Dallas, I believe, last night. I do like Charlotte plus the points. I think it's too many. Toronto has been thoroughly uninspiring this season. 15th in offensive rating, 21st in defensive rating. They're 2-5 against the spread this season as a favorite. Maybe they win this game, but they covered the 9 against the Charlotte team that had won 4 straight prior to losing to Dallas last night. I'll take a shot. Charlotte, a young team. they can rebound in this situation. They can rebound. So that's going to be the pick for me, number 1 out of the gate. Number 2 goes to you. This one's appealing.
Yeah, I was
Philadelphia and Miami.
Heat and 76ers, and I will admit that I've kind of pivoted or changed my stance on the total from Daily Wager, which we just recorded live here in Las Vegas about an hour ago. I'm actually going over 222.5 for Heat and 76ers. On Tuesday, these two teams met in this very same building they'll play tonight. The game went to overtime, but they accounted for 271 points total. They blasted the over, and I was thinking, why was the reason that was? Well, both these teams are shorthanded because of COVID issues, Miami especially. And we think of Philadelphia and Miami, defensive identities, slow half-court offenses. That's the case when they're healthy, Brother Joe. They're not healthy, so the identities have changed. They're both top 6 this season in pace in the NBA, which is kind of shocking. And Tuesday, the last game they played when all these other pieces were out, it was just a 3-point shootout. Each team attempted more than 50 3-point shots. I think that's the way to try and avoid getting tired on defense, banging in half court. Yeah. I think both coaches said, you know what, get down there. If you got an open 3, take that shot, because everyone on this court has to play 35 to 40 minutes because we're so shorthanded. And with that tired legs on the defensive side, I think we see another game that is a back and forth shootout that goes over the total of 222.5.
Both teams had season highs in three-pointers made last night with 19. The Sixers had their 3rd best shooting percentage from the field last night at 49+%. In that matchup, the closing total was 213. Big adjustment for tonight, 222.
Still going over.
And a half.
Still going over.
Game number 3, I got the Denver Golden State game. I'm going to get very specific and try to thread the needle here. I am going to play the Denver team total under 114.5 points, which means if Denver scores 115 points, I lose. 114 or less, I win. Golden State's defense was wretched to start the season. They allowed 122 or more points in 5 of their first 6 games. Since that time, notably because Draymond Green has come back and they've started to gel a little bit on defense, they're giving up just 105 points per game over their last 5. Denver does not have Michael Porter Jr., which Preston Johnson alluded to on Daily Wager, saying that hurts the offense but helps the defense because he doesn't play a whole lot on that end of the court. I don't think the pace is going to be as fast as we've seen. Denver struggles on the defensive end, but ultimately, I don't see Denver getting to 115 points. Team total under 114.5. That was the best bet on Daily Wager. Final NBA pick for tonight. What do you got?
I got Pacers Blazers, which I expect to be a shootout. This total was
last
high
night for the Blazers
at 229, and the Blazers were just involved last night in a shootout with the Sacramento Kings, a team that plays at a lightning fast pace and is subpar defensively. The Pacers are better defensively, but they also play at a quick pace. Portland is 3rd in the NBA in offensive rating. Indiana, I should say, is 8th in offensive rating. Efficient offenses. Now, Victor Oladipo is not there, and so that's going to be more on the plate for Domantas Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon. But I trust those two. Those two are getting thrown out there for 38, 39, 40 minutes a night, and they're efficient, effective ball players. Brogdon's a guy who's a 50, 40, 90 guy, and Domantas Sabonis is a walking 2010, 2015 kind of guy. So, in a matchup where the Blazers, poor defensive team, 24th as a matter of fact in the NBA in defensive rating, on the second night of a back-to-back against another team that likes to push pace, and it's a team that plays its best players a lot of minutes, I'm expecting a lot of scoring. The loss of Oladipo should make offensively the night a little easier for Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum because Oladipo is a good perimeter on-ball defender against guards like that. Brogdon's good, but you lost the other part of that perimeter defense for the Indiana Pacers, so I'm expecting a lot of scoring. Dame and CJ went off last night. I think they bring 110, 115 points to the table, and I think as long as Domantas Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon have normal efficiency, they, too, will provide enough offense for this to go over 229.
I like the analysis. Take this roulette chip, go downstairs, hit your number, then take the winnings and put it on that bet.
All right.
There you go.
Done deal.
All right. Thursday, the good word. That's 3 words, but the way this game works is you just have one word. I am going to read a statement. We are going to use this very fancy technology in front of us. It's not just here for show like it is for some of the shows. Today, we actually plan on using it. So you're going to get a statement, then you're going to give me one word to describe that statement. Are you ready?
Aye, aye, Captain.
UFC 257 is Saturday, January 23rd on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. You can catch the action on ESPN+. The main event features the return of Conor McGregor as a plus 600, or I should say, Conor McGregor is plus 600 to defeat Dustin Poirier by decision. So it's a specific prop. Conor McGregor is plus 600 or 6-1 to defeat Dustin Poirier by decision. What's the word?
The word I come up
Alabama?
with is alarming.
Alarming.
It's
You are
alarming to see Conor McGregor as plus 600 in any way, shape, or form for an outcome of a UFC fight, given what we've been used to for most of his career.
Yes.
Now, he's certainly at the tail end of his career. He's made a lot of money now as he is hungry, and he hasn't fought as often in recent years as he has. But that's because oftentimes police alarms have had to go off and get in Conor McGregor's house and ask him some questions. So
Little double entendre here.
That too fits for Conor with some of his behavior outside of the octagon. But to me, it's just alarming to see Conor McGregor as plus 600. As great as Poirier is, to me, alarming for McGregor.
Okay, for me, the one word on Conor McGregor at plus 600 to win by decision would be, stick with me on this one. I worked very hard on this.
Ja. We be jamon.
Jamais.
Is that I love it in
Jamais.
French?
Jamais, it is French. I looked it up in Google Translator last night. It is French for never, as in
never.
never gonna happen.
Never.
As in this fight is not going to go the distance, which is why you're seeing it at plus 600. Conor McGregor has gone the distance in just one of his last 10 fights. He's gone the distance in just 2 of his last 20 MMA fights. And by the way, he fought Dustin Poirier before. It was at UFC 198. It was a win for McGregor by TKO stoppage, 1 minute and 46 seconds of the first round. So the plus 600 is there because the hi, Madame Kohler.
That was my
Kohler.
French teacher in middle school. Hi, Madame Kohler.
How'd you do in that class?
I was so disruptive at times that she tried to embarrass me by making me come sit at the teacher's desk with her and hold her hand. But I actually loved it. I thought I was playing chess while she was playing checkers. You thought I was going to embarrass me? No.
So
I love that as a class clown.
All right, the good word number 2. After acquiring shortstop Francisco Lindor and starting pitcher Carlos Carrasco in the offseason's only blockbuster trade, the New York Mets are now 13-1 to win the World Series.
Oh, you go first. Never mind. So
Go
I
fir-
was told you go
Okay.
first. I was so excited to throw my word out there,
All
but
right.
you go first,
I
brother.
will make it quick then.
Intrigue.
Well, actually, this is the opposite of quick because it's taking me quite a long time. Intrigante.
Is that another?
That is not French.
Is that Spanish?
That is Italian. Again, I went
Italian.
back to Google Translator a second time, and intrigante, intriguing. I'm sure you could have put
I like that.
together
I do like
or thought
that.
it was interesting. It's really a 50-50 here. I love the rotation for the Mets right now. So you got Jacob deGrom, you got Carlos Carrasco, and notice I started there rather than Lindor. We know Lindor's all-world. We know about the WAR. We know about the contract. We know he's one of, if not the best, defensive shortstops in baseball. Shout out Andrelton Simmons. We know. But it's the Carrasco piece that really has me intrigued. DeGrom, Carrasco, Marcus Stroman, and then Noah Syndergaard's coming back from injury. That is a legit rotation. Now, we've seen that before with the Mets, but now you have Lindor. Now you have Pete Alonso. Now you have a lot of young up-and-comers. 13-1, intrigante.
I know we were getting romantic language lessons here.
Also, if you are French, as you work your word onto here, if you are French or Italian and you are listening to this
terrible.
and you are disgusted by the pronunciations, I apologize. I really have no idea what I'm doing here.
Okay,
Gala.
my word is gala,
Keeping it
gala,
simple.
depend on how you like to pronounce it.
How do you say
You
it?
know, I say gala, but then
So do
I
I.
actually last night, gala, I think is the way you're supposed
What's
to
the
say
classier way?
Gala.
Because some people say buffet rather than buffet. They go to a buffet.
Buffet?
It's very odd.
I like buffet, but I'm a Hoosier from St. Louis. Mets at 13-1 to win the World Series after this deal to bring in Lindor and Carrasco. It's a gala or gala. They are now, the Mets, kind of a sexy pick in the NL, even though the Dodgers and Padres have done their thing, adding the firepower in the offense of Lindor and then Carrasco to that rotation makes them a sexy pick. When you go to the Met Gala or Gala in New York, you're often wearing your sexiest dress
Yes.
or your best tuxedo. And again, I'm intrigued by this, as many
Intrigante.
are, to see what the celebrities wear in New York at the Met Gala or Gala. I'm intrigante by this Mets team because Lindor is an all-world player. Cookie Carrasco, one of the most underrated pitchers in the game. Getting Syndergaard back could make them dangerous at 13-1. Perhaps a sexy intrigante gala or gala-like pick in the NL.
I am confident that of all the analysis that was given to that trade, that was the stupidest by far and away analysis of any analysis.
I wear that like a badge of honor,
that
my
trade.
friend.
And not just you, I'm talking about the two of us together. The way the two of us laid that out, that was ridiculous. All right, final one, the good word. You're going to go first this time. Okay. The 2021 Masters, which right around the corner, pays 3-1 if it goes to a playoff. What's the good word on that?
Okay, the good word for me on that is hazardous. As in, making this bet seems hazardous to your bankroll. It's like looking at a hole on the tee box, knowing there's water on the right. You aim as far to the left as you can, but still hit it into that water hazard. Because this seems highly unlikely. What are the chances? How often have we seen a playoff in major championships?
Bubba Watson.
Like,
I'm thinking about throwing
exactly.
one at you, throwing the outlier.
It is far less likely to happen than these odds would indicate. I think 10-1, 12-1, maybe it's worth a bite. At 3-1, get out of here.
All right, the 2021 Masters pays 3-1 if it goes to a playoff. My word, umlauts.
Oh, we're going German now.
No, we're not going German. Careful with that word. Careful. A lot of people
are we getting a new
confused.
sponsor?
This is Vagra, which is Swedish. Vagra for refuse, as in I refuse to talk about this. The Masters is 84 days away. We have the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl. We have the NBA really starting to ramp up. The NBA's first half will conclude before we get to the Masters. We have the start of the NHL season. We have the Australian Open. I refuse. Vagra. I Vagra
Swedish.
this segment. I refuse to talk about it. I love the Masters as much as anybody. There's too much going on right now. I can't talk about it. All right,
I thought we had a new sponsor for bet for a second.
Everybody was like, how are you going to say that on the show? I'm like, just look closely. It's an optical illusion. Prop art. Anita Marks would normally be joining us for prop art. You see her lovely picture right in the middle. She's out. We kicked her out for this week. She doesn't follow the rules. She doesn't follow the rules.
I apologize to my Twitter followers because I said prop art on today's bet with Anita Marks.
She's probably
so
mad that
I lied
you said that.
straight to your faces.
She will be back next week. Relax. We love her. She's going to be back. Prop art, you want to get us started? We're going to do the Saturday games. First game is Packers and Rams. Which direction you want to go there? Give me something.
In Packers-Rams, it's not posted yet. Still waiting for it. But Cam Akers is going to go over his rushing attempts, much like I suggested you do in the wild card round against the Seattle Seahawks. And here are the reasons why. Cam Akers has fully taken control of this backfield for Sean McVay. He's averaging 22.8 attempts per game over his last 5 contests. Darrell Henderson, the backup running back, he's on IR, not playing. There's 2 running backs on this team, Akers and Malcolm Brown is only used in situations, pass blocking, and short yardage situations. Green Bay allowing 4.5 yards per carry, which makes them 21st in the NFL in efficiency. That's the way Sean McVay should be attacking. Feed Cam Akers. Don't make Jared Goff with 3 pins in his hand in sub-freezing temperatures try and outduel Aaron Rodgers with his arm.
Quickly, since we don't have a number yet on it, is there a number that would be too high where you would say, you know what?
24. 23 and a hook.
Okay.
23 and a hook is too high.
Okay, very specific. For my prop art for this game, Packers-Rams under 9.5 points in the first quarter. Under 9.5 points in the first quarter. The Rams have been slow starters in the first quarters over the last month of the season. They only have 6 total points scored in the first quarter over the last 4 weeks. It's going to be cold. It's going to be uncomfortable. Everyone's banged up. It's going to take some time to get into a rhythm. Green Bay, as great as they've been, 17th in first quarter scoring at 5 points per game. They don't exactly fire from the gate, so we're going to go under 9.5 points in the first quarter, Packers-Rams. Second game, Baltimore and Buffalo. I will be starting this one. Lamar Jackson under 26.5 passing attempts. He hasn't hit this mark in any of the last 6 games. In fact, he only averages 25 passing attempts per game. So this is set at 26.5, which would mean, do we think Jackson's going to be above average in this game in terms of how often he needs to throw? I think not. Both teams rank in the bottom 5 when it comes to pace, so neither's necessarily moving up and down the field at a breakneck speed. In addition, Baltimore wants to run the ball. Buffalo struggles to defend the run. I think this game will be a grind. I do not see Jackson getting the 27 pass attempts. I will play under 26.5. Ravens, Bills, what do you got?
I'll look at Josh Allen, the QB on the other side, go over 7.5 rushing attempts. That's all it is. Zach Moss is injured.
Yes,
There's only
he is.
Devin Singletary in the backfield. And Josh Allen not only can create off script and take some rushes when he's dropping back to pass but doesn't see anything, but in the red zone, Zach Moss was their guy. I have a feeling Brian Dable's going to make Josh Allen his de facto red zone running back. If they're inside the 5-yard line, design plays to Josh Allen. 7.5 attempts, I think that's way too low. I think he's going to get north of 10 in this matchup with Lamar Jackson.
Good stuff. All right, good stuff. Those are the Saturday props. There will be more regarding Sunday's props. Check us out on Daily Wager tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. ESPN2 will have the whole wild card covered. Plus, we have Saturday and Sunday morning shows to get you set. Now, playoff showdown. Fulgham, Fortenbaugh, fantasy style. We're going to pick every single game, and we're going to see who does the best.
Why do we have to remind us of that?
This is not what I'm talking about. This is prop art. We have moved past this. Nobody cares about this. Get this out of here for all the jokers behind the scenes. What we want to talk about is playoff showdown. We're going to pick every single playoff game leading up to the Super Bowl, and then we'll start again. I'll give you the update. We were not good. 2-3-1. 1-4-1 in the 6 picks last week. We moved past it.
Awesome.
I take no pleasure in winning with a losing record. A little bit of pleasure in winning with a losing record. All right. Would you like the honors? First game out, Packers-Rams. You can do just about anything here. We just want a winner.
Under 45.5. Aaron Rodgers is the only NFC QB that scares me against my defense, the number 1 defense in the NFL. But I do think the Rams defense will show up and make things less efficient for the Packers. And then again, the Rams offense, how efficient are they going to be with Jared Goff playing in sub-freezing temperatures where in starts under 32 degrees, he's never thrown a touchdown pass, thrown 5 interceptions, and now he's got 3 screws in his thumb. I like the under in this game.
I will be laying the 6.5 with the Green Bay Packers. I think the situation sets up beautifully for Green Bay. They've had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. They're rested, they're healthy, they're at home, they're familiar with playing in cold weather. This is going to be a cold weather game. Look at the last 4 weeks for the Rams. They went to Seattle for the division in Week 16. They hosted Arizona for a playoff spot in Week 17. They went to Seattle for the wild card round in the last weekend. Now they're going to Green Bay. That's going to wear on a team. They're banged up. They're coming in this game. I'll lay the 6.5 with Green Bay. I think they're a great teaser option as well. Game number 2. It's the Buffalo Bills hosting the Baltimore Ravens. I believe the line is sitting around Buffalo minus 2.5. Total of 49.5. It's coming down. Favorite play of the weekend, I'm going to be playing the under here. Get ahead of it because the weather could get nasty. Like we talked about earlier, Baltimore wants to run the ball. Buffalo struggles to defend the run. Enough said. I think this game is going to be a grind. These two rank in the bottom 5 in pace, under 49.5. Where are you going?
I'm going to take the Ravens and the points in my back pocket. I think they win this game. They were my Super Bowl pick. I feel like I've said that every single piece of content I've produced over the past 2 weeks.
You've been all over
the
them. You've been
ESPN platforms. And it's a matchup of Baltimore's strength running the rock matches up well with Buffalo's deficiency defensively defending the run. They were 26th in yards per carry allowed this season, and teams have hit them up at almost 5 yards per clip over the last 4 weeks, 4 games, including Jonathan Taylor and Indy running all over them.
Chiefs-Browns as we move to Sunday's schedule. You just can't get rid of those Cleveland Browns. Kansas City laying 10 as they come off the bye and look to defend their total of 57. Where are you going?
Going over. Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. I think finally we'll see a focused, intense effort from start to finish from the Chiefs, even though they're a little rusty because they've had a couple of weeks off. But I'm not betting an under with Patrick Mahomes on the football field. That's the dirtiest feeling in wagering. I do think the Cleveland offense is efficient enough, especially with the way Nick Chubb runs the rock and Kareem Hunt. Maybe a revenge narrative, hashtag for him. I think we see a lot of points in this bad boy, over 57. I'm
going to lay 6.5 with Kansas City in the first half here. Plenty of time to get ready for this game, and you're going to hear the numbers. Andy Reid off a bye in his career, 19-3 straight up, 14-8 against the spread. I think what you have is the Chiefs playing well in the first half, and Cleveland backdoors them late in the game, but I'll lay the 6.5 with the Chiefs early. Final game of the weekend, it's the old quarterbacks, the first meeting ever between 2 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks in the playoffs, Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Saints laying 3, total of 52.
I want to hear what you have to say first.
You want to hear what I have to say?
I'm curious how you approach these 40-somethings since you're approaching 40-something.
I am 40. I turned 40 a few weeks ago. I'm on the wrong end of the equation.
Welcome to the Breeze and Brady Club, my friend.
I am right there with them. I always thought they were so much older than me, and then it's like, he's 42. I'm like, ugh, I'm right there. I will lay the 3 with the Saints. I've seen this game play out twice this season. The Saints smashed them both times. What concerns me about Tampa Bay is they played 6 games this year against teams that ended up going to the playoffs. In those 6 games, they're 1-5. They struggle when they step up in class. I'll take the Saints.
Here you go, my friend. We're on opposite sides of that.
Oh, are we really?
I'm Bucks with the points in the pocket. Since their Week 13 bye, the Bucks have been a different team. I think they were tired down the stretch a little bit, and they've been a much different team. First in yards per play, first in offensive points per game since that bye. I think they win this game outright, so I'll take the head start.
Damn, head-to-head. We had one of those last week. You came out on top. You had Baltimore, I had Tennessee. Right. It's a tough spot for me.
I don't like backing Tom Brady, but I'm going to do it.
But you're going to do it. Yeah, he's had some success. Tyler Fulgham, Joe Fortball.
Happy belated birthday, brother.
Thank you.
You make 40 look
Have a
good.
great weekend, everybody.